Greetings from Dehradun. I'm Jessica Gabriel, part of the BeginEd India team. And I'm very happy to have with us today Neeta Aggarwal, who's very willingly joined us to share her story. And this segment is going to be learning together through breastfeeding experiences. So yes, as I said, we have Neeta with us, and she's going to just share with us her story of her lactation experience and her breastfeeding experience. Neeta, thank you so much for your availability and just for joining us here. Yeah, as we start, would you like to just share a few things about yourself? Where are you from? What are you doing? How old is your kid?
Hi everyone, to all the listeners. My name is Neeta Aggarwal and I'm from Delhi. I am a public health social worker and now a certified lactation professional with a certification in maternal and infant child nutrition. So I have recently began this journey and I have been working in the field of development sector, public health sector for over 4 or 5 years now. And with experience in the maternal and child health sector, carrying that knowledge and that experience forward, I'd like to tread on this new journey now as a lactation professional, and let's see how many lives I can just impact and help people out. Yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful, Neeta. We're so glad you're here with us. So just let's start with a few beginning questions, right? So what was your experience with breastfeeding during pregnancy? Like, how did you take this decision to breastfeed your child? How were you supported? Like, did you have any previous knowledge, antenatal classes? So how was it? How was the experience?
So my decision to breastfeed my child was an informed one. Okay, I'm a public health professional and I worked in the area of maternal and child health, like I've told you before. So I was aware of its miraculous benefits as a mother, and as a mother, I just wanted the best for my baby. So I wanted to go ahead with breastfeeding. Right, if things were moving in the right direction for me, if they were to move in the right direction, I wanted to do that only. And during pregnancy, I learned about breastfeeding from a number of resources. I didn't get to attend any antenatal classes, or I wasn't prepped up by my OBGYN, particularly about breastfeeding. So she was supportive of breastfeeding, although she counseled me during my antenatal visits like once or twice. But then for other information, for a detailed, information, set of information, I had to go through a lot of resources like La Leche League and Kerry Mom, So they are popular resources on the internet. So yeah, I went through that. And I didn't take any antenatal classes as such.
Thank you for that answer. That was wonderful. So let's talk something about like your experience after birth, right? So how were you supported? When did you initiate breastfeeding?
So after birth, my own recovery took time as I had received epidural during labor. And then I was told that my internal cervical os was too tight. And after 20 hours of labor, my baby's head had started becoming conical. So that's when my OBGYN decided that I would be needed to be shifted to the OT, and a C-sec had to be performed with spinal anesthesia. And the baby was given formula after birth without my consent, and breastfeeding was not initiated after birth. And it initiated on day 2. Till then, the baby was being given formula. I then, when I started feeling better, I began hand expressing my colostrum, and I asked the nurse and my mother-in-law to feed the baby with a spoon or a pallida. Then the hospital nurse would come and she would pull my nipple and then shove it into my baby's mouth for feeding. I wasn't allowed to do it myself. She thought that I was too naive and too misinformed, or underinformed to do that. And but all I wanted was to be left alone during that period, during that process with my baby, because I had some confidence in myself that I would be able to do it, because I've read about it. Let me try at least once. Let me just get closer to my baby and experience this once. But that never happened.
Mm. Yeah, that's rough. So, like, there was no skin to skin, or like, were you able to practice? I know, like you said, like there were a lot of interventions, but were you able to practice skin to skin in the first
It was
hour?
more of a cheek to cheek. Like, soon after my baby was born, he was put cheek to cheek with me, and then he was taken away. So I wonder why hospitals in India don't let their babies feel their mothers feel their baby after birth. They rush them, I don't know where, to immediately wipe them and get them ready instead of, you know, keeping them close to their mothers. What went well with me was the birth of my baby
Okay.
and the ability of, you know, the blessing of a healthy baby with no medical complications. I was grateful to God for that. And as I said, my recovery took time.
Hmm.
So I was asked for 12 hours to lie straight on the bed and not move because I could develop a spinal headache, as my doctors informed me. So during that time, my husband made sure that he gave warmth and comfort to my baby in my absence. So he kept our baby skin to skin during night time for some
Oh,
time.
that's beautiful. Yeah, that's
So
wonderful.
he could do it in my absence.
So I think we talked about like a few challenges that you faced when Arnit was born. You know? So what were a few challenges during your breastfeeding experience? So when you started breastfeeding?
So yeah, for 1.5 months into breastfeeding, I was comfortable. Like after discharge, I went home and breastfeeding was on point. It was going good, smooth for about 1.5 months. And then I started dealing with oversupply of milk. And I wasn't aware that it was oversupply. I noticed my baby sputtering milk, coughing milk due to high pressure. You know, it used to come like sprays of milk oozing into his mouth, and then also regular spit ups. So I used to be engorged all the time, and the letdown was so painful for me. It was like I tried pumping, I tried hand expressing, but I used to be engorged all the time, and I was in pain, and I had no idea what to be do, what to be done. And I tried reaching my LC at that point for that point of time, and she wasn't available on text messages, and I couldn't go at the hospital at that point of time because my husband was tested COVID positive, and my entire family was COVID positive, and I was staying at my mother's. So you know, traveling up and down with the baby was kind
Hmm.
of difficult for me at that point of time. So that's when I did my research and read about oversupply on the resources that I mentioned before, Lalechi League and other resources. And I also saw a few videos about moms talking about oversupply issues and how they dealt with it. So that way I got to know, yeah, okay, this is what I'm facing right now. And so I tried block feeding, you know,
Hmm.
where you stop feeding from one side of the breast for 4 to 6 hours and then latch the baby onto the next side. So, and it helped. It helped. But I was successful in treating my own oversupply. But then I wish I had some professional guidance at that point of time. And I didn't know any other means to reach out and I mean any other LC or professional to reach out at that point of time.
Yeah, I know COVID kind of just made things just so difficult for already like for
Everyone.
people who are having challenges, and then it just made things like it just exponentially raised the challenges. But I think good job, Neeta, in learning and educating yourself and saying no, I
Thank
want to do this and I will get this done.
thank you, Jessica.
That's really good. So you talked about like a first few days and a first few months. You kind of supported yourself, you educated yourself. So what went well? Like I know you said you didn't have professional support, but what went well during these days?
So, in the first few days, what went well was I everything was good, going good. As in, I didn't face any latch or positioning issues. His poop and pee count was good, and I was fully mobile and taking charge of my baby. So that way, everything went well. Yeah.
And then when you realized you had that oversupply challenge, so you read about it and then you were able to block feed, right?
Yeah.
So, like, did it help? How much did it help? So, what were the challenges after that, and what went well there or not?
I was a bit concerned about dropping my milk supply
Hmm.
because I was kind of experimenting with myself, you know. this was not something that I was 100% aware of, or, this was a tried and tested method, or some professional had told me to do it. It
Mm.
wasn't anything of that sort. It was something that I did it as an experiment on myself. So I was worried about dropping my milk supply, or, having a low milk supply issue later on. But then thankfully it subsided, and his spit ups and coughing and everything that was happening, it slowly subsided, and he was better. I was better. And then, yeah, we did it.
So is it true to say, like for the first, maybe first few months, like you didn't have any like professional lactation advice, or did you have something from the hospital before, or did you have any consultant?
On day 3, that was the day of my discharge, my LC showed up. The initial 2 days, I don't know, she wasn't in the hospital, I guess. But then she showed up on day 3, and I was glad she came. And she helped me with positioning my baby because I had stitches. So I didn't know how to hold my baby because I was in pain. And day 2, getting up from the bed, initial movement is painful. So she came, and she told me to hold my baby in a football clutch position. And I didn't know that kind of thing existed. I was like, what is football clutch? He's my baby. He's not a football. So I held him in that position, and there he was, feeding like a pro. He was like born to be a breastfeeder, or I don't know. He latched on quickly. He was like, he waited for that LC to come, I guess. And then, yeah, he latched on, and there he was, suckling away like a pro. And my family was a huge support in the initial days. So from holding and rocking the baby, bathing him, changing him, they were there for me, especially my husband. He was there throughout my initial postpartum days like a rock.
That's wonderful. That's amazing. So you talked about like quite a few things, from the LC showing up on day 2, and then you doing your own research because of COVID restrictions and stuff, right? So how did this entire experience kind of motivate you to become a lactation professional?
So ever since I began working in the field of public health, I've always been motivated to help and improve and work in the area of maternal and child health. I worked with the government of Madhya Pradesh in past, and in one of my projects, I was involved in the strengthening of NRCs. They are nutritional rehabilitation centers. You find them in villages and other parts of the state, and kangaroo mother care centers at health centers. I realized working there that we have a long journey ahead. Like I got to work in the rural settings. We are sitting right in the heart of India, in the metropolitan, and I got to work in the rural parts. So I realized, there the challenges were so difficult and so different for rural women. What would at that point I used to think it must have been easy for urban women, and they must have had that kind of information. They must be aware of um, breastfeeding and its benefits, because people here are learned, they're educated, and you expect them to know everything. This is basic education, this is basic, everyone knows breast milk is best for the baby. But then when I became a mother myself, I understood the value of a lactation professional and how her contribution can lead to successful breastfeeding. Even if you know the basics or the nitty-gritties of like initiating breastfeeding in the after birth, you might know it's the best for the baby. But then you come across initial challenges, and then like it just comes onto you like, oh, what's this? What's happening? Is this the right latch? Is this the right position? Is this how I'm supposed to hold the baby? Am I doing it right? Like there are so many questions that constantly come to your mind. And no, it's not meant to be painful. It's not meant to be exhausting. It's a beautiful nurturing process, and it needs to be viewed like that. These personal experiences of breastfeeding I've seen from women, they get demotivated, it's painful, oh, it's hurting, my baby is, I think he's hurting me, so I think breastfeeding is like that and it's exhausting, so let's just discontinue and then opt for some other measure. But no, then I was convinced to train myself and empower myself with that kind of knowledge and help other women achieve this. And here I
Oh, that's really motivational. Yeah, what did you wish that you knew or would have known as a new parent?
am. Nice question. So, as a new parent, uh, we are bound to listen to advice and suggestions from a number of people around us. And at times it gets too overwhelming. You know, everyone has their own experiences. And hence, the suggestions also come from those varied experiences from those generations, right? So, but when you decide to follow one thing and it doesn't work, and then a series of trial and error happens, we get frustrated. So this person comes and says, oh, this will work, for your baby, you should try this. Okay, you try, and then it doesn't happen, it fails. Okay, second person comes and says, oh, that didn't work for you, you try this, this will happen. That also didn't happen. And you get irritated, you get frustrated. But thankfully, evidence based and scientific thinking is what is required, and it is what that enables us to think more clearly. And I wish I had access to that kind of information. So
Hmm.
evidence based scientific knowledge of the know-how of lactation, the preciseness of information, and this is what needs to be done, and this is what evidence shows, and this is what the research shows. So instead of hearing blah 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 advices, I just wanted to have one single solid opinion.
So do you think like people who are expecting or like thinking of having a baby, an antenatal class or just going through this anticipatory guidance, do you think that would be like something that would be you would advise them to take?
Definitely. I think antenatal classes can help a parent or a new expecting mother to prepare herself, her family, her husband to, you know, they don't know what's coming. And if they're prepared, if they know that, this is what might come, and if this is the situation, then this can happen, and this is what you can, this step is what you need to take, then I think it provides a lot more clarity inside your head. And then you are relaxed during the initial days when
Mhm.
you really go through a lot in your mind. It is extremely important and beneficial for
Mhm.
sure.
Yeah, of course. And I think like even if you can't get prepared 100% for every single scenario, you're at least equipped or you have some moral support or guidance to go after or to, just to
Yep.
depend on when the challenges come. Nita, let's just like kind of shift towards our community and how lactation professional is growing, right? So how is it growing in your community? So how do you see it growing in your community?
So in the last 3 4 years, I've seen a huge rise in the number of lactation professionals in India, and people are approaching them. They are seeking the right information. They are curious. Now people are curious. So when you open Instagram, you see, or even if you Google, I don't know if I can Google lactation consultant near me. I see results.
Hmm.
I think 5 years ago, if I wanted to do that, I would get one or two results. But now I think the scene has changed drastically over the years, over some recent years. And I'm glad to see this transition happening, at least in our generation. If you see the southern part of India or the northeastern part of India, the level of awareness about breastfeeding and healthy feeding practices is very high. I'm sure there must be other states where people are more aware about all this, but uh, I can say from my own experience, I want to quote a personal experience of mine, if you allow. I was at a cousin's wedding in Kerala like 2 months ago, and I was there for a good 15 days. So wherever we went, like a metro station or a tourist spot or a shopping arcade, it was a huge sari brand, where we went. And I was surprised to see separate breastfeeding rooms there, not in the toilet. There were separate breastfeeding rooms, like comfortable rooms, big rooms, a separate dedicated space for breastfeeding. Can you imagine? And there is a waterfall named Athirapalli Waterfall near Kochi. And the trek to the falls is really tiring. It's very long. So even that place had a breastfeeding room made of wood. So that is the kind of growth and awareness that I wish to see in our community.
Mm.
Like I was so happy to see that in Kerala. Like where else can you see that? And it starts, from individual level, I guess. And then it moves on to family, then society, and then a community. And then ultimately it can have an influence on policy level decisions. And it's when our government starts prioritizing such practices and considers it critical for maternal and child health. I think that is when we can say that the lactation professional community is growing in India. So that's the kind of vision that I see.
Yeah, I think actually that goes to our exactly to our next question. So if you have a dream, I think you kind of answered it, but in about
Yeah,
5 years, what is one of those dreams?
5 years is a long time. But yeah, I've seen the amount of support that is required by new moms, nursing moms, especially the first timers. And I understand the role and contribution and the significance of a lactation professional in their lives. So I wish to keep moving in that direction in the best interest of mothers and babies. I dream of a society where breastfeeding is normalized, where mothers are empowered, where men act as equal partners, where there is strong family and social support, where returning to work and access to supportive childcare is not a problem, and there is no embarrassment in nourishing your child in a public space. But will I be able to achieve this in 5 years? Is what you're asking me. Maybe not. Maybe I'll not be able to achieve this, but I'm sure that the lactation professionals community will together. Yeah.
Wow, that's a beautiful dream, Neeta, and I really hope that is fulfilled in the next, if not five, then at least in the near future. Neeta, like, what are your like? Where are you with your breastfeeding experience now? Like, can you tell us about how is your journey going now?
Now Arnit is 15 months old and I breastfeed him on demand and during nighttime. So he is having solid food and he is baby led weaning. If you say, I don't like to call it weaning, but I like to call it baby led feeding. Baby will wean at the point of time when he wants to. But then, yeah, he's doing that. Although I was advised by his pediatrician to, wean him off at nights because she was like, oh, it's bad for your sleep, you also need rest. And then if he wakes up, because he'll anyway wake up 3 or 4 times a night at night. So she was like, stop breastfeeding him at night. If he wakes up, just, give him some biscuit or give him something to eat and then put him off to sleep. Don't put him to breast. But I didn't adhere to that advice. And as now I'm aware of the benefits of feeding the child at night. I know that, it has the highest fat content, the night milk, and it helps the baby to sleep. It has melatonin and yeah, and I know that it's the night milk is sleep inducing. So I will continue breastfeeding him and follow his cues as far as I can, as long as I can.
Yeah, I think we're almost coming to an end of this interview session. And Neeta, I must tell you, like, thank you. That's such an encouraging story with training yourself with oversupply and during COVID challenges, and just coming so far as you have in your breastfeeding experience. So, if I can ask you, like, what are some key learning messages that you would have for our listeners who are listening today, like for the mothers who are listening, for their families? Yeah, for LPs or for others.
Okay, for mommies, Hi, all mommies out there. I know you're doing the best you can for your baby, and don't let anyone else tell you otherwise. So, a new life brings with him or her a lot of new learnings and challenges. As a mother, I'd like to say grow with your baby, learn with your baby, and watch out for those cues. Breast milk is liquid gold, but don't feel judged or demotivated for the other choices that you make based on your circumstances or situation. Seek help whenever you feel the need. Be scientific in your approach towards attending the needs of your baby and reach out to professionals. They are out there, they will help you. So don't think you are alone here or in this process. Just be confident and be there for your baby. For families, yeah, families are the immediate environment in which a child grows, and they are crucial for a baby's healthy development. In protecting the dyad, I think family plays a very important role. It plays a huge role. It is every family's right to be educated, counseled on what is appropriate for the baby and the mother. It's important for them to be aligned with the dyad so that a collective decision that the family makes works in the best interest of the mother and the baby. Supportive families are critical in establishing successful breastfeeding, I guess. And when the families are supportive, how can a mother, falter? Or for if you say for lactation professionals, um, I feel their contribution, our contribution, is integral to protecting and improving the health outcomes of mothers and children and empowering mothers and families with evidence-based knowledge, as I've been constantly focusing, it is rewarding and satisfying to see healthy mothers and babies, right? So in India, we still, I guess, have a long battle to be won. And this is going to be tough and challenging, but I wish the community of lactation professionals in India the very best and hope we continue moving in this direction. And for others in the society, I think we need to be more accepting and accommodating towards breastfeeding. We need to normalize breastfeeding as much as we can. Let's just stop seeing this as a taboo subject. When you see a woman breastfeeding in public, please be accommodating and, in the sense, just allow her the freedom to nourish her child. Stop sexualizing breasts and just let's be facilitators and not inhibitors of this process.
So yeah, I think that was like those were some really wonderful messages, Neeta. I just have like, I know we don't have it in on the slides over here, but I just want to ask you one question that just popped up in my mind. What keeps you going when you get discouraged? Like you had so many challenges going through your breastfeeding journey, with like not so many having so much of education before or prior help, and then COVID hit. Yeah. So what keeps you going when you have these challenges?
I'm very stubborn.
And that's a very good thing, I guess.
I am extremely stubborn. So once I have decided something to be done, I guess I just stick to it. And when I am aware of these benefits, and if this is the path that I've chosen for myself, and if I see myself, because as a social worker also, like if I see myself making a difference in the lives of mothers and babies and just helping them out with these issues, and um just being there in the community, I think it's for my own personal, I guess it's my own personal, you may say, selfish reason to pursue this. But yeah, it's very rewarding. It's satisfying to help and to be there for others. When you yourself face such challenges, you don't want others to go through the same. So yeah, that's I think that's what keeps me going.
So just be stubborn and go and get it.
Yeah.
So yeah, Neeta, I think that kind of brings us to the end of this interview. Thank you so much for sharing your story and for those wonderful insights. Anything that you would like to just end with, or any final thoughts that you would want to share?
Uh, Thank you, Jessica, for providing me this opportunity, to speak, to help me speak out. Like I don't know when I spoke this much at length last time. I just don't remember. Like, um, maybe this is after 1.5 years that I'm getting the opportunity to uh, just share my experiences, or there hasn't been anyone who asked me, oh, so they know I've become a mother, and they know how old Anit is, and they know that I am breastfeeding him. But what has been my experience like, and what are my challenges? What what have I gone through during this entire process? I don't think anyone has asked me that, and thank you for asking me that. Thanks to Begin It India for giving me this platform to just share my experience, and maybe this experience will help other women to be confident, and just resonate with my experience, and then help them uh, move forward in this direction. So yeah, thank you, Jessica, thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're always welcome. Well, Neeta, thank you for joining us and sharing your story. And we really
My
hope that
pleasure.
you and Arnit have a wonderful journey ahead, and all blessings to Arnit and to your family also. So
Wishing you the same, Jessica, wishing the same, and
thank,
to the team at Begin at India.
thank you so much for joining us.